supreme bean pies from Bake the Bean Pie. Made from the best of ingredients, experience the golden brown flaky crust and pastry filling of the supreme bean pie from Bake the Bean Pie. Not only delicious, but also nutritious. The supreme bean pie from Bake the Bean Pie. Call in your order today, 901-210-8791. That's 901-210-8791. Bake the Bean Pie. Bake. The Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique. At Urban Indulgence Handmade, we pride ourselves on offering quality skincare at affordable prices. Handmade with plant-based, skin-loving ingredients, our soaps and body butters give you luxurious lather and ultimate moisture. Experience the Urban Indulgence at 3314 Poplar Avenue next to Poplar Plaza. Open Tuesday through Friday, 11 a.m. till 5:30 p.m., Saturdays, 10 a.m. till 4 p.m.
And we're back live here in the studio at the S.O.S. radio program. Once again, Assalamu alaikum, or peace be unto you. For today's program, once again, we have our sisters here. In fact, we have two in the studio already, and we have a new face, man. I got a little news earlier that someone was invited to be with us today. And in the wake of that little text that I got earlier, we got some things arranged, and we also have joining us today Sister Fatima Muhammad, and of course from yesterday we have Sister Tequila, and our third beloved sister is en route. Sister Tamiko Muhammad, our Sister Donna Muhammad, will not be joining us today. She has other obligations to attend to. Our sisters, just like the brothers are busy, and I know sometimes we have this false notion that they just sit at home with the children all day cooking and sewing, I guess, brother. Negative. No. As you heard yesterday, you heard some very, very enlightening commentary coming from our sisters yesterday, and I'm quite sure I got a lot of positive feedback from yesterday's program. And as we stated, these are enlightened women. These are educated women. These women are homeschoolers. They are school teachers. They are stakeholders in the community. They are nurses. They are doctors. They are attorneys. And we as a community, we are policemen. We are firemen. We are people who are involved in helping to make our communities habitable places and a better place to live. Is that all right? I hope that is. So, brother, we're going to begin, as we always do, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness to the oneness of Almighty God, regardless of the land, label, or language that one would choose to apply. And I bear witness to the oneness of his prophets. Don't worry about it. We'll get that mic straight. We bear witness to the oneness of his prophets. We don't argue as spiritual people, believing people. We don't argue over the names by which the Supreme Being or the Divine Creator is known, because we should know as spiritually mature people that God makes himself known according to the language and culture of the people among whom he raises his prophets, messengers, and warners. God is not so broke that he has to confine himself to one particular cultural, linguistic, and what have you, expression of himself, or no one specific particular label that men have chosen to apply to the teachings of the prophets. God is not that myopic, although sometimes we would like to make him that way. So we bear witness to the righteous names by which all people of faith refer to the Supreme Being. We know some call him Jah, some call him Jehovah. I learned on the west coast of Africa, they call him Unkulunkulu. We call him Allah. But when you study the root meaning of all of the names, all of them refer to some divine attribute of the Supreme Being. And we would like to greet you all once again with the greeting words of peace in the Semitic language of all of the prophets, including Jesus. Assalamu alaikum. Those words once again mean, may peace be unto you. Brother Kenneth, we're on again, man. Let me slide over here. I didn't intend for this big chair to be in here with the arms on it. I wanted a smaller chair. so we can have some space. And brother, I'd like to start. If you have some words that you would like to greet our listening audience with to get us rolling today.
Yes, sir, brother. As always, like to open up in the name of Allah, beneficent, the merciful, bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. And I want to greet our listening audience and the viewing audience out on YouTube, Facebook Live, and our universal greeting words of peace, about salam alaikum, which you all know by now, just simply means be unto you. How you doing, Memphis, and everyone out there listening? I'm so excited once again to be here on the S.O.S program, Saving Ourselves, under the auspices of Muhammad's Mosque number 55, under the leadership of the Mid-South representative, student minister Anthony Muhammad. And while I'm on that, we got a little rain down here today, but I'm hearing in the forecast it's going to be sunny and blue skies Sunday, and I'm excited about that because I don't want any impediments to stop me from getting down to the McFarland Community Center at 2 o'clock, 4955 Cottonwood, to hear our beloved student minister Anthony Muhammad give this seminal address starting out getting ready for the Easter season. And his subject is going to be the crucifixion of the black youth. And I think it'll be well worth it to come out and hear what student minister Anthony has to say. So plug that in, save the date. That's Sunday, 2 o'clock at the McFarland Community Center. That's 4955 Cottonwood. Yesterday, the Facebook Live and the YouTube chats were off the chain, Brother Andre, because the sisters from the Nation of Islam, you know, new woman, new nation, they set it on fire. I mean, if we had some mics, we'd have just dropped it. We didn't want to drop the mic because we wanted you to hear. But Sister Tamiko, Sister Taquela, and Sister Donna did a magnificent job. We brought in another sister because, you know, the lineup is immense at the Nation of Islam, Muhammad's Mosque 55. We have many, many sisters. There's many lights, stars that's right here in our midst. And it puts you to mind of the scriptures where it says, light shined in the darkness. But the darkness sometimes perceived it not. And we have many, many voices, many different representations of our faith, our culture, and the black experience. And so I think it is time that we allow the sisters to speak for themselves, because what they have to say is necessarily something we all need to hear, especially us men, because sometimes we walk through life with blinders and we live in a facade. We're not who we claim to be. Mm-hmm. And so now we're dealing with a serious, serious topic, dealing with the black female, disrespected and unprotected. And every day in the news, it seems like you're seeing one of our sisters being accosted by law enforcement, walking up and down the street, by bystanders. She's not safe on the subway. She's not safe in the mall. And she's not even safe in her own home. So we got to do something about that. And I think with these sisters, these scholarly sisters, giving us a frontline view, and also hopefully we can get to some solutions. You know, I like to ask the sister, what can we do as men, you know, to help you out? What can we do as men, get our act together that's going to make your lives be what they were created to be? I know many women, they don't want to wear the pants, so to speak. They don't want to be men. You know, they like their role, they like their position, but we got to have our rightful position in order to be able to do what we need to do. So, Brother Andre, I'm excited about the program today, and inshallah, God willing, we're going to have a magnificent time.
Absolutely. Thank you, my brother, for that commentary. And certainly, this conversation, brother, or this topic, if you will, has been on my mind for quite some time, actually. But what forced it to manifest and materialize into what you saw yesterday and what, inshallah, or be it the will of Almighty God, you will see today, is the incident with the sister in Dallas, Texas, where a dispute over her allegedly blocking some kind of driveway entry, and some white guy comes out armed, takes a gun out on the woman, which, was very, very cowardly. Or as we said in the hood, that was very punctifying. You pull out a weapon on a woman, first of all, when she's clearly unarmed. She was armed with a cell phone. Frightened, the sister attempts to call the police. You see him smack the phone from her hand. And of course, the sister, responded in kind. So she struck him because she was struck. She was struck by him. And he unleashes 5 savage, closed fist blows to this sister's head and face. And they initially charged him with a misdemeanor. But because of public outcry at the local level, they upped the charge to a felony. And I found out recently, or as of yesterday, I found out that they were planning to charge the sister with a felony.
What? Are you serious?
They were going to charge that sister with a felony for damaging his truck. But
That's America.
The district attorney stated they were not going to pursue the charges. My question is, who presented the charges? What investigator saw fit, after seeing that video footage, to charge this woman with anything? So this conversation is appropriate. Unprotected, disrespected. The black female. So we're going to get into it, and I want my sister, we got a new face. So just like we allowed the sisters yesterday to introduce themselves and have some words,
Yes, sir.
we will extend and afford the same opportunity to our sister who is with us today, Sister Fatima Muhammad. So Sister Fatima, let's make sure she's got a level on her. If you would, dear Sister Fatima, introduce yourself and give some words, if you so desire, to the listening audience. Wa alaikum salam, ma'am. Pull that mic to you nice and close. You just slide it on. There you go. Yes, ma'am. That is fine.
My name is Sister Fatima, but a lot of people know me by Sister Aisha. So either or. But I'm just honored to be a guest today. I love the show. It's always just a pleasure.
Praises be to Allah. Short and quick, brother. Sister Fatima. And we're still awaiting the arrival of Sister Tamiko Muhammad, who will be here shortly, inshallah. We have to keep our antennas up and make sure when we hear or see that car pull up, we make sure she gets into this 30. Like she's pulling up right now as we speak, because my brother Kenneth is on the move. Quick moving, fast thinking, right down to the modern times. Cleanliness inside and out. You know what we do and how we say it and how we live it. So, sisters, yesterday we covered quite a bit of material, and to the listening audience, and just to let you sisters know, and just to give you a perspective in terms of who tunes in. We have been blessed, dear sisters, with a pretty robust audience on a regular basis. I have my Facebook live feed going. We have those that tune in on the YouTube live stream. And once again, for those of you who are on Facebook Live and would like to see the sisters and as well as us and hear them, you can go to youtube.com and type in WMQM AM 1600. I should say it like this. WMQM 1600 AM. Once you type that in the search field on the YouTube webpage, you hit enter. Once you hit enter, it populates and you should see a blue circle, a logo that says F.W. Roberts Broadcasting. And once you click on that, you will see 3 beautiful women clad in, there you go, sister, just position that the way you need to so you can speak into it, clad in their MGT attire or dress, modesty you will see, and believe me, you will hear wisdom come from the mouths of these sisters. So if you want to hear and see us live, that's what you do. Go to YouTube, type in WMQM 1600 AM, Click on the FW Roberts Broadcasting logo and you will hear us live. And for those of you that want to be a part of the conversation, give us a call at 901-452-3094. If you have questions or comments, questions for our sisters, us, or comments. Or you can call 901-324-7490. And of course, before we get started, I have to give you our axioms, or the guiding principles that we use to undergird the conversation. Because oftentimes we engage in these type of meaningful conversations or dialogues using the perspective or through the lens, if you will, of what we've learned from this world's educational, religious, and political spectrum, if you will, okay? And we have to know and understand that we were not educated in such a way that the intention was to liberate or free us. As a matter of fact, I was looking at or reading a short treatise by someone that in that writing they said, we were not taught religion in America, black people. We were not taught religion to liberate us or, in their words, to save our souls. Because the truth of the matter was, at the time they were introducing us to Jesus, they did not even believe that black people had souls. That's documented. So how then could they be doing that for the purpose that they expressed? No, of course we know and understand that it was for the purpose of making us a better tool of service in this country. So we say that to hopefully help you to understand that the diameter of knowledge that we have traditionally functioned from is not broad enough to allow us to escape the inordinate control that they have on our thinking, our actions, and the like. So let's get to it. The first axiom from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is, he who prescribes the diameter of your knowledge dictates the circumference of your activity. We simply want to offer you a broader diameter from which to function in terms of knowledge. Second axiom from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is his definition of a slave, wherein he writes, a slave is one whose power and authority is ruled over by another and whose sphere of freedom is limited according to the wishes of his master. And you can see that clearly demonstrated when they give those who we hold in high esteem in entertainment, politics, wherever they are, they give them what we call the Farrakhan litmus test. And as soon as they even think favorably of the minister in particular, or any voice that speaks truth to power, particularly that of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, then they get treated like a slave. They are forced to recant and retract. And they capitulate, and they do just that. And the last and final axiom that we introduce at every program comes from our brother Carter G. Woodson in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro, wherein he writes, when you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. You do not have to tell him to go here or yonder. He will find his proper place and will stay in it. You do not have to send him to the back door. He will go without being told. In fact, if there's not a back door, he will cut one for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary. And there you have the three axioms that we function from. So sisters, hey, any opening remarks that you so desire to give on this timely topic? And as I was stating earlier, Sister Tamiko and Sister Chiquela, as well as, of course, Sister Aisha. She's better known by that name, Sister Aisha. In the middle. And these are mothers. I mean, they look very young, don't they? I know. No, these women, these are grown women. Don't get it twisted.
Right, don't put no
Put some respect on that, like my brother said. But this conversation I've been very passionate about. I think it is, words defy explaining. How is it that over 75,000 women and girls, black women and girls, can be missing, and we not be having a conversation at least about it? I mean, the young woman, God bless that family, and certainly it should get some attention. They got in an Uber, and she ends up, her life is gone.
Yes, sir.
That's horrific, man, in other instances. But you don't see on that level when this type of thing happens to women of color, particularly black women. I have yet to see that type of attention afforded our women. And while I'm thinking about it, let me say quickly, and not necessarily quickly, we got someone is giving us a call. Let me catch this real quick. And you're on S.O.S. Live, could you hold, please? You're on S.O.S. Live, could you hold, please? And there we go. All right, I have to do it all in here. But as I was saying, our sisters don't get that kind of attention. You know, so it's up to us, as you said, Sister Tamiko, to give attention to what's really happening. Okay, so this conversation, in my mind and heart, is very, very important, because how can we allow that number of sisters, and as Brother Kenneth put it in perspective yesterday, not very many counties in each state have a population of 75,000 people. So imagine an entire city of people just gone. Don't nobody know where they are. So sisters, if you would please briefly just put some flesh on the fact that we're not even having the conversation. Why do you think we're not having that conversation? And to our caller, we'll be with you in just a moment. We got a caller. We got a Mr. J.B. Cobb holding on. And I guess he wants to talk to you, or she. I didn't get I think it is a male, but go ahead, please.
I just want to start by saying thank you so much once again for this opportunity to be on the show. And pardon my tardiness. That's one of the dispositions that I'm trying to get rid of.
That's all right, sister. We know your mom.
But I want to kind of continue, well, from my perspective.
Somebody got a phone on.
Pardon?
I'm hearing an echo, but go ahead.
From my perspective, I wanted to continue as far as love, respect, and protect the black woman. And since I guess we kind of defined it as much as we could, because yesterday we discussed a lot that needed to, still needs to be unpacked. But I think we got the basics of the definition of love. And from my perspective, I think that it's important to continue to clear the rest of that phrase, respect and protect. As you just mentioned, that large number of girls that are missing, 75,000, that is definitely an alarming number. And we should be alarmed, and we should be out searching for them right now. But why? Why are we not searching for them? Yes. And so that other aspect, since we talked about love, I would like to share a little bit more about the respect aspect and the protection.
Yes.
Because basically, when you respect something and someone, then you see value. There's value added to it.
Yes, ma'am.
So in actuality, the black woman never had any value. No one sees her as being valuable. So, hey, 75,000 young black girls they're missing. So what? They're not valuable because, as you said, they have no soul. So we need to deal with that aspect, because we're losing our girls, we're losing our children, and we can't sacrifice 75,000 girls. We can't afford to sacrifice that kind of a number. So we really need to deal. Definitely, we need to deal with that.
Absolutely.
And I would like to add.
Yes, ma'am.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, praise be to Allah. I would just like to add that when I spoke yesterday, I was speaking about the nurturing that was deprived of a lot of us. That really goes back to slavery time, and how the enemy pretty much knows that we are the mother of civilization. Mm-hmm. So with that, he has to make us be disrespected, so that the man doesn't respect us.
Right.
So that's why it was snatch the babies away, and they're going to feed our babies. Yes, they're going to clean our house. They're going to do all these things for us, the white race, but not for their own. And so the man loses the respect. Then he has the white man who goes and has sex with his wife, and there's nothing that man can do about it at that time. So it breaks down
the respect level for us. And at this point in time, it's not even, for me, 75,000 girls. It's the fact that I don't hear about none of them.
Yeah, women and
I didn't even know. Yeah, women and girls. I didn't even know they were missing. That's not good.
Yeah.
It's not, okay, who's missing that? We don't have signs. There's nothing on the news. Nobody's thinking about it. Nobody's talking about it. That is a major issue.
Yes.
And we don't even see it as an issue.
That's very unfortunate. And sister, thank you so much for that. I mean, look, I don't know about anybody else, but what does that say for us as a people, as a community, as men in particular, that our women and girls can just be, you know, pirated away, so to speak, by, you know, whomever.
Right.
And, you know, nobody talk about it. You know, there's no news coverage. And unfortunately, we have so far been so derelict, if you will, in our duty and responsibility to our community to take responsibility and lift our voices on these kinds of issues. You know, it doesn't get talked about because, see, we expect it to be on CNN, and then we will actually protest because it's not on CNN.
That's right.
Well, when are we going to? That's why this platform is being used for this purpose. This is very, very serious. You all are mothers.
Yes, sir.
Can you imagine one of your girls or your sons just missing?
Brother Andre.
Yes, ma'am.
My daughter she's 12 years old, and she does go to public school. And every morning I drop her off, and in the evening I come and get her. Mm-hmm. And there have been a couple of times where I can't locate her right away. And I can't even begin to explain the level of crippling fear I feel just from the thought of her being snatched up so fast. And because in the public school system, there's no, our children are not monitored. Mm-hmm. And so she could get snatched up in a blink of an eye, and there would be no sense of urgency to try to locate her.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, and this what I feel, I mean, there will be mothers all over the world have to send their children into places where they're not protected. You know, so I can only imagine, but that's just a fear of mine.
Yes, ma'am. Of
her being taken, and with the 75,000 girls, and she's just another name and another number.
Mm. Wow, that's good. Ooh, sister, I saw the trepidation in your face as you were speaking, fear that you have, and a couple of instances where you were not readily able, in the immediacy, to locate your daughter. And I mean, that's got to be some crippling fear. So imagine that there are 75,000 immediate and extended families, at least, that are suffering, basically in silence. So what are your thoughts, Brother Kenneth, if you want to add to, you know, just the fact that this kind of conversation, man, I mean, and we have Black Talk Radio. CNN, I think it was in 2016, the Black congressperson, Black legislators, sponsored, if you will. I don't know how it happened, but all I know is, according to CNN, they hosted a town hall meeting, you know, at the beckoning, if you will, of some Black congresspersons to talk about, and it was then 64,000 women and girls just missing. So I guess that town hall meeting that they had did not garner enough momentum or attention to continue the conversation. So that's why phrases like Black Lives Matter come up. And it's so crazy that oftentimes you will see Black people are the primary adversaries of us just simply saying Black Lives Matter. I mean, I've listened to local radio talk show hosts demean it. I mean, absolutely. Black lives don't matter. Black lives don't matter to Black people. That's not the point. That's not even the point. And I mean, that's just the level of, and I don't want to be disrespectful, that's just the depth and level of ignorance.
It is. It's definitely ignorance. Ignorance of what it means to, be responsible and be dutiful. I also had an experience just like my sister here. Mm-hmm. I mean, in a second, it doesn't even take long to start to panic. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take, and this was my daughter. Mm-hmm. And, with my sons, I just get angry and I just get upset.
You know that boy.
But my daughter, it was a whole total different experience. Mm-hmm. But see, I value my daughter. I love Sister Aisha, she values her daughter. Mm-hmm. See, it really doesn't penetrate until it hits home. And that's what's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement. It's hitting so many homes until now, okay, God is waking us up to say, okay, now, what is going on? What is going on? And it's not something that's just happenstance. It's by design. God is trying to get our attention, and He is trying to show us you need to be more respecter of yourself. Value your women, value your girls, and value your own life, or be respectful to yourself. Yes. And I just wanted to clear this word, respect.
Yes, ma'am.
It is a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. And to protect means to keep safe from harm. Mm-hmm. So, what do we respect in this society? It has to be something that we admire. It has to be something that's elicited by the abilities and the qualities. Okay, so we don't respect humanity. We don't respect that. We respect music.
Yes.
We respect shoes, clothes, cars, phones, phone covers, hair extensions, gold on your arm, gold in your mouth. Yeah. So our level or our way of respect is not even on the right thing. We don't even know what to put value on. We don't even put value on the things that's supposed to be valued, like humanity, education, community, and relationships. Yeah. So we have got to, reprioritize, or we need some kind of intervention. And we do have that. We have that with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He is helping us to understand what our priorities should be. And he is actually helping the Black man to see that he needs to learn how to love, respect, and protect the Black man.
Yes, ma'am. And also, I was going to acknowledge, of course, today is April the 4th. This is the 51st year anniversary. I don't like to use that language. The commemorative date that Dr. Martin Luther King was murdered, assassinated here in this city. And last year, someone came to me in dismay, talking about how the name of Dr. King is being scourged locally. And I'm not going to get into all of the specifics about who and whether. That's really irrelevant. I'm just wanting to point out the point, or the principle, if you will, or the attitude that exists even amongst ourselves, that we can strain at a net.
Yes.
We can strain at the minuscule indiscretions, as some would like to characterize it, that all of us as human beings make, but gloss over the magnitude of the impact of the life on the society. So we seek to tear, according to what I was told, just tearing the man down. But today we hold up Dr. Martin Luther King, because those of us today, it is because of that man that we now as Black people in this country enjoy many of the, I can say freedoms within the context of the American political, economic, and social construct. We enjoy those freedoms because of the work of that man and those that walk with him in that time. Yes, sir. So, but go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
I'd just like to add, to follow up what Sister Tamika was saying, that God's trying to get our attention. In the Quran, which is the book of scripture of the Muslims, it says that whenever Allah raises up a messenger in a nation, He seizes that nation with distress and affliction, so they might humble themselves.
Right.
You see, the black nation is being seized with distress and affliction. If you look at the dominant society and our place in it, it is telling us some things subtly and overtly. For example, now is the political season where they're garnering their selections to run, to be nominated for the candidacy of the presidents. Look at the amount of money that was raised by 5 individuals in 3 days. Mm-hmm. One was 7.2 million. I think Kamala Harris 12 million. The mayor in Indiana, he had like 9.5. Bernie Sanders double digits in the millions. That's just for someone to come out and lie to you about something they know they're not going to be able to carry out.
That's right. Make promises they know they can't keep.
You have a city of lost women, girls, a city.
The whole city.
The whole city's gone. Not some little small town now. This is 75,000. That's a metropolis. Gone. How much money? How much conversation? We can't even get news. We can't even get the ticker tape on the bottom.
Nobody cares.
You see? And this is because whenever you want to conquer a people, the first thing is to destroy the man.
That's right.
The black man in America is a destroyed man. He's rebuilding himself. But the process of destruction went over 400 years, 310 years chattel slavery. Chattel means property, something inanimate.
Yeah.
Animals had more rights than the slave.
Yeah, the dog had more rights on the
Now
plantation.
you saying,
Yes.
I know some of our people out there saying, "Oh, here you go there," but no, you have to put it in context, because when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with relationships, and how you start in relationships. Come on, sister. How you and the man start in a relationship, generally the foundation, that's how the relationship's going to be. How did the relationship between the black man and the white man here in America start? See, it started off, it was one-sided. The slave had no rights over his own person. Nothing. The master had unequivocal control. And that really has not changed all that much. They was talking about, I think it was the Civil Rights Museum, they were showing some economic indicators, because they were saying last year was the 50th, again the word used, commemoration of the assassination of Dr. King. And they were showing where poverty was, no movement. They were showing where unemployment was. I saw a statistic yesterday, and I had to rewind and make sure I saw it. The unemployment rate for whites in Memphis is 8.4.
8.4.
And the unemployment rate for whites, according to their statistics, was 23.8.
You mean for blacks?
For blacks, excuse me. 8.4 for whites and nearly 25% for black.
Yeah.
That's real.
That's real.
That's real.
That's real.
And in all of those things, it leads us right back. When you destroy the male, he's the natural defense or the vanguard for the woman. The woman has always been the prize.
That's right.
Always been the prize, because we know she's the quintessential aspect of a nation. You said it, Brother Andre. You teach a man, you teach an individual, you teach a woman, you teach a nation.
Right.
She's the first entry point. So if I can take the woman, turn her inside out, as Willie Lynch said, reverse the natural order. Mm-hmm. You see? Then I'm on my way. And this is it. The insignificance, the disrespect. You got to admire. Look at the language, how they subtly do it. Through movies, through magazines, through images.
Everything.
When we was on the rise, you would say, "Hey, we the Supremes."
Mm-hmm.
What you call yourself now?
Beings with problems.
Yeah.
That's what they call themselves in the 90s.
Think about it now.
Ages with attitude.
I mean, they would come out, Diana Ross, and we had the elegant gowns, Aretha Franklin, Patti LaBelle, Anita Baker. They didn't have to show their body because their pipes is what you paying to hear. But now, now the video vixen, that's just a new term they just come up with.
Yeah.
I wanted to add, or to just kind of come in on what Brother Andre had mentioned about Martin Luther King. we don't really respect our people, our community do not respect our Black leaders.
Yes.
And as you had mentioned, Martin Luther King made a great contribution to our society, to our history. He is a legend. He should be recognized. And this is something that is a part of, I guess you can say, for lack of a better word, it should be expected. Or part of our etiquette, our historical etiquette, that we recognize him and respect him, because he is of value to the Black family. And we just don't get that. We're not getting that from our younger generation. They don't see it. They don't understand it. They're disconnected. They don't see any value in him. And they don't see any value in him because they don't see any value in themselves.
But not just that, sister. You have a lot of young people are not being properly educated on Dr. Martin Luther King, because we look at him and I think we kind of attach ourselves to the "I Have a Dream" speech, and we really don't study him the last few years of his life. And so that we have this narrative that we, the uneducated masses, that we pass down to our children who Dr. Martin Luther King was, but we're not teaching them about those last few years of his life when he started to change in consciousness and he started to talk different.
Absolutely.
And so I think that they have lost respect simply because they don't really understand who the man was.
And you know, sister, that is in large part because the talented pimp of our community is always co-opted by forces outside of our communities and groomed, funded, and backed. And some out there, you know what I'm talking about. They get funded by people and they expect something in return. They expect them to toe the line as it relates to issues of their community and abandon the issues of their own community. And we don't control the narrative of our lives and our history. And this is why when you don't control the narrative, there's an old African proverb says that as long as I can't, it's about hunters and lions. And as long as the hunter tell the history, you know, the lion will never, you know, I don't remember exactly how the quote goes, but I get the principle. The conqueror tells the story, you know, and we're in a position where we're not necessarily conquered, if you will. And this is why this kind of thing can happen to us. This is why this number of women and girls can go missing, and nobody cares. Nobody even talks about it. It's infuriating to me that as a community of people, we can have this kind of thing happen to our women and girls, and we don't even talk about it. And then when you talk about it, then you have those among us that I got a special name for that will protest even talking about it. That's just how sick and depraved spiritually that some of our own people are. Now, sisters, I want to get to talking about, there are some things that happen to our women. But you know that Black women are most likely to be injured or even die during childbirth?
Scary.
They are the least likely to be married. I'm throwing some things out that I want to give you to give some commentary on. Let me give you a few more. Women of color giving birth in the U.S. is so dangerous for women of color. They ask the question, why is it so dangerous? Also, the most dangerous place, according to this article, is in Washington, D.C. for Black women to give birth. The dating. Black women have, of all people, male or female, Black women have the most difficult time finding a suitable mate.
That's true.
I'll give you those three. Okay. And give me your thoughts on them. You all go as you will in whatever order you so desire.
I would like to start with the pregnancies, the mortality rates on that. I don't really have any statistics right now, but I can speak from the vantage point of prenatal care. It is very important that a mother who is a young girl or a woman who is expecting, prenatal care is very important. Very important.
Yes, ma'am.
What she takes in to herself, what she ingests, and actually her environment is just as important. And our community are filled with young girls who are ill-equipped for this particular role, either because they have lack of knowledge, and also with that we have a very bad diet. We're not eating the right foods. We do not have people to educate our girls on how to rear children. And for me personally, since this is something very near and dear to me, we are not teaching our girls the value of themselves so that they will save themselves for the right one. So when we fill our community with these ill-equipped mothers, then of course the mortality rate is going to go up, or the death rate of the infant babies is going to go up, because they don't know how to take care of themselves.
Right.
And then on top of that, we have a high rate of abortions. Our young people do not even understand that it is wrong to take the life of an unborn child. That child is alive. Right. That child is a human being, and it's not there by mistake. You know, so it's just imperative that, of course, prenatal care is important, but first, it's time to teach this girl about herself.
Right.
It's time to get involved. It's time for us as mothers to get involved, stop working so much, stop playing so much, stop looking at so much TV, because if we really want to get deep about this 75,000 girls being missing, where are the mothers?
Yes.
Where are those who are where is her protection?
Yes.
And it just goes back to her deserving to be respected and to be protected. And I got some quotes here from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, ma'am.
And these quotes come from the divine value of the woman. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says that Hollywood portrays the black woman as a tart.
That's right.
So let's look up the word tart. It says it is a small pie or pastry shell without a top.
Right.
And that, to me, that means she's not covered.
Speaks.
That's what it implies to me. Containing jelly. And I know that could come with a whole lot of kind of connotations, but however,
inside,
that is what that's what the black woman is to the society. That's what Hollywood has portrayed her to be. So since the enemy, or our former slave masters' children, since they want to create these stereotypes, this is one of the stereotypes they have created for black women.
Yes, ma'am.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that this is how they bring us down so that we will enjoy being in a degraded state. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that we have been reared to believe that the black woman's stock and trade is her bosom and her backside. So there is no value in the woman.
Yes.
I think he said in that same lecture that anytime you denature a woman, you devalue her.
Yes.
And so it boils down to us knowing our nature.
That's right. And I want to add to
that we knew. I'm sorry, we knew who we are. I mean, And again, these are conversations that I have to sit every morning. I sit in the car and I talk with my daughter, and I help her to put things into perspective. Because even though I grew up as a Muslim child, my mother really didn't teach, and she had 9 girls.
Yes.
And she didn't really talk to us about our value.
Right.
And it resulted in teenage pregnancy and other things. But these are conversations I have to have with her, and I have to sit and put things into perspective and tell her how valuable she is to me, to the family, but to her nation,
and to herself,
and to her nation.
Yes.
I mean, if they knew, especially when you look at the condition that the world is in. But the minister said that every answer to our prayer comes from the womb of a woman.
That's a fact.
So if you put this into perspective now. You have 75,000 women missing. That's 75,000 answers to prayers missing. We don't have to be in the condition that we are in, and we have the ability to produce change. But unless we're teaching our girls their value, and like you said, raising them right and teaching them to value themselves and eating the proper food and being in the right environment. I'm going to say when you have something sacred, you put it in a sacred space.
That's right.
But we aren't creating those spaces, those sacred spaces for our girls.
Because we have to be the example as well. We're not the example. So what do they see? What do the young girls see every day? If you walking outside, summertime, I mean, it can be 60 degrees and everybody got on their booty shorts and their little tank top shirts. And children, they're watching. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to make them love themselves. I grew up as a Muslim, went to school fully covered like I am now. Mm-hmm. And my mom had to send me to public school. Mm-hmm. So that was very hard for me because nobody else is covered. Mm-hmm. Nobody else knows what a Muslim is. Mm-hmm. They've never seen a Muslim. And the teachers didn't even know, so they didn't even know how to receive me because all they knew is we don't eat pork, we don't celebrate Christmas. But that's not enough for them to be able to mold us into what we need to see because they don't even know who we are. One thing the minister said that stuck out to me is ravish the womb. And he's not just speaking on your womb, he's talking about your mind too. You know, so it starts as a child, like Sister Tamiko said, you got to put them into that type of an environment, but you have to be the example. You have to be doing work on yourself as well so that these girls grow up to be those women. Because we all have stories, and all our stories go back to our childhood where our parents neglected us. Yes, at some point, mommy neglected us, daddy neglected us, whether they had to go to work, whether they left us with people, whether grandparents wasn't there. Like me, my mother was an only child. So, you know, who do I have to look up to if I don't have grandma, auntie, uncle? So I'm looking at people that are not really good examples of what it is to love myself. Mm-hmm. So I look at TV.
Yes,
mm-hmm. And that's
that is the devil.
The TV. They control the narrative.
Yeah, and they're controlling and they're putting things in our mind. The music, like I told my children, no, we're not gonna listen to that. Mm-hmm. Because it's hypnotizing you, and all of a sudden you come in the house and you're talking about something that you don't even know what you're talking about.
Right. Mm-hmm. So. Absolutely. So. And sisters, the thought as you all were giving your commentary came to my mind. I remember reading something that Muhammad Ali said that was so profound, I thought. And I'm going to try to paraphrase it. He was talking to one of his daughters. Mm-hmm. And he said to her, the female is more valuable than silver, gold, diamonds, and pearls. And he continued saying, in order to get gold, you have to dig into the earth just to get to it.
That's right.
It's laborers. To get diamonds, pressure has to be put on.
Have to be applied.
Applied. Mm-hmm. And to get a pearl, you have to plumb the depth of the sea to get to the oyster that produces the pearl. But access to women is so easy. And she's supposedly more valuable than the aforementioned things. So, I mean, what you all said earlier, and we said it yesterday about the answer to prayer comes when a people yearn for something.
For change.
For change. Mm-hmm. Whether that change is good or bad.
That's
I'm
right.
leading into something.
Yes, sir.
If a people yearn, which in history a people did yearn to be free from Moses' law, which was strict, and a man named Nimrod was born to lead them out from underneath, because that's what they really wanted. Okay? So I want you all to address the consequence of women not being properly seen or put in the proper light and handled properly. What comes from her? Because remember yesterday, only two types of people come on the earth. Mm-hmm. One is Cain. One is Abel. I don't care what your ethnicity is. Cain and Abel represent two types of people that populate this planet. And the earth right now is overrun with Cain. In fact, America, which is the fulfillment of what Babylon, Mystery Babylon spoken of in your Bible, Babylon is characterized as being a habitation of devils and foul spirits. So, sisters, if you would, speak on the consequences as you see it. What are some of the things that you see as being the consequence of our failure to properly protect and respect our women?
Assalamualaikum. I would say just witnessing a lot of things that the Holy Quran speaks about in the Bible, about things that you would never imagine. Like I seen 2 twin girls kill their mother.
Yeah.
What would possess you to kill your mother? And they went in together and lied about it together and thought that they would get away with the murder of their mother. A lot of children putting their hands on their parents, on their grandparents. They have absolutely no feeling. They're like numb to reality. So yeah, that's not normal. So we have to, like I said, going back to re-educating and nurturing us, it starts before you even conceive a child. What are the thoughts that are taking place during the process of conception? What's going on in the environment of the child? What are you looking at and reading? If you're sitting here and you're watching First 48 and crime scene shows while you're pregnant, or like the minister said, don't even take her to the movies when she's pregnant. You have to guard that woman's mind throughout the entire time. And even when the baby's born, you got to guard that whole environment. And we're not guarding it because, again, we don't see value in it. So, yeah, you're going to bring a whole bunch of devils into the earth. They're wreaking havoc in the community. Those people out in the streets right now murdering, the crime rate right now, those were babies.
Yes.
The minister said when you held those babies, they were little babies. They cooled and kind. Hitler, he was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't know the spirit that was in that baby when that baby was a baby until they got older. 10 years from now, you don't know what type of child you may have based off the environment. You have to instill in them righteousness and value and love within themselves at a young age.
Yes, ma'am.
Praise be to God.
I would like to say that, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he teaches us that the brain is created to think right.
It is.
Yes.
So we instinctively, we know right from wrong. We are exposed to a word, and we are in a time where God's message and his messenger is present amongst us. And he has been spreading this word far and wide all over the world.
That's correct.
And although he has been spreading that word, there are many of us that still haven't heard it. However, it's out there. There is no excuse. And the consequences of us hearing the word, we have been taught that this is an invitation. It's an opportunity. Whenever you hear the word of God, it's an opportunity. Right. It's an invitation. And what you do with that invitation, it's up to you. Because the job of the messenger is to just deliver a clear word. That's his only job. That's it. So we have that clear word. And for our people, as speaking from the perspective of a girl or of a woman, we understand, and she understands, that she's doing wrong if she is living that kind of life. Now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said in The Divine Value of the Woman that we have been made to enjoy living in a degraded life. We've been made to like being abused and mistreated. We have been made to like this kind of lifestyle because we do not love and we do not value ourselves. However, when that message comes and we have that opportunity to accept that message, accept our own and be ourselves, then we either can reject, we can disbelieve, we can believe, or we can become hypocrites of that message. But the consequences for those who disbelieve and for those who are hypocrites, they are very bad. It's very bad. And the Holy Quran and the Bible talks about God's judgment and the destruction after the messenger, after God comes and delivers his message. to the people for those who reject, and they endure dire consequences.
Yes.
You know, the wages of sin is death, and we are involved in a sinful life. We are involved in a life of death. So, you know, in a culture of death. This is an opportunity. I would say, you know, this is the Nation of Islam issue. It's an opportunity for our people to accept their own and be themselves. But in that word, it's still a prescription for healing. It's still an opportunity for us to clean it up.
Right.
And for the woman, she must clean up because humanity is at a loss without her.
That's right.
That's right.
We're done. We're extinct without the woman.
Right.
So it's imperative that she gets it first. You know, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, his responsibility was the woman first.
That's right.
And when he left, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stepped in to rebuild the nation, he says, and I think it's in How to Give Birth to a God, he says that, you know, he asked the question, well, if this is responsibility of my father, why am I going to choose something else?
Right.
You know, so he came in, the first thing he did was cover the sisters, set up that class. It was mandatory. It is absolutely imperative that the woman is re-educated and retrained because she carries the laboratory of God. And I really wanted to kind of deal with this because I looked at some things from the perspective of, you know, education. So as teachers, we are trained to help in the cognitive development of children.
Correct.
So in the formative years, which is 1 to 5, this is what, you know, we're dealing with. We're dealing with the development of children. So what is this laboratory of God? When we say laboratory of God, what does that really mean? What is going on? So, you know, we understand how life begins. I mean, even if we talk about pregnancy, it has a stigma attached to it. No one even really respects the word pregnancy anymore.
You're right.
But it is a valuable word, and it is important that we understand the divine attachment to the act of being pregnant, or to the act of being pregnant.
Exactly what's taking place.
What's going on? What's taking place? So you have the sperm, you have the egg comes together, and it's fertilized, and now this young lady is pregnant.
That's right.
What is going on inside of the womb? So we know that the first thing that is created is the what? Is the brain. So the brain is created, and it brings all other of the creation into existence. It brings arms, legs, body, the systems, and it brings everything into existence.
Without the help of anybody.
Exactly.
Nobody's guiding that process.
Exactly. Well, someone is guiding that, but, you know, we don't necessarily see that. Okay. So she is definitely in harmony with someone, with somebody.
Absolutely.
So the Holy Quran says we are created, we are made complete, yet incomplete. Now, this has a lot of interpretation, but from an educational standpoint, this is early childhood education development. So when the child is born, we are born with about 100 billion neurons, or we call them brain cells. And every we have an extra 250,000 neurons that are made every second.
Yep.
So the brain is constantly growing. It's constantly developing. So it went through a stage inside of the womb, but now it has come out and it's about to go through another stage.
Yes.
All right. So in the first 2 years of life, this process called synaptogenesis takes place, and it's real vigorous in the first 2 years of life. Although it continues to take place on into adulthood, but it's very vigorous in the first 2 years of life.
Hyperdrive.
So synaptogenesis, this is a scientific definition, so I had to write this down. Synaptogenesis is the formation of synapses between the neurons in the nervous system. Although it occurs throughout life, there's an explosion in those first 2 years. So the neurons are actually like they're growing, and in synaptogenesis they go through something called pruning. So we're familiar with what pruning is. When we prune our tree, we want to get rid of the overgrown branches and make the tree look good. So the brain is actually going through this process of synaptic pruning. All right. So as the neurons grow, it's kind of like it's simultaneous with the windows of cognitive development, like memory, problem solving, decision making. These are the faculties that we want to make sure that the child has, because when they start to go into school, these are the things that they're going to need in order for them to learn, to write, to read. So these are very important faculties that need to be developed. Now, this is the responsibility of the mother. Yes. We're talking about what a woman has the responsibility of in her role as the mother of civilization. Yes. So as these neurons are growing, they are being, they also go through a process called myelinization, which is this fatty protective substance that's slapped onto the neurons to finish the process of pruning. So all of this is taking place with the watchful eye of a mother. So she is responsible for rearing this life, training this child, instilling all of these principles into this child. This is the reason why she is so valuable. So she is connected to the divine source. Yes, she is the co-creator with God. And this is why she must be respected and she must be protected. And in Catholicism, we learn that they respect Mary, the mother of Jesus. They and almost worship in a sense. So we don't worship, but they respect Mary because of what came from her womb. The Savior came from her womb.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in order for her to have a Savior, she had to have some Savior characteristics in her own self.
Right. Sister, let me stop you there, Sister Tomiko, because several things. That's a lot of commentary, and that's a lot to wrap your head around. Beautiful information. What's coming to my mind when you talked about the synaptogenesis and that explosion that takes place in the absence of a mother to help guide that, then whatever the child is exposed to, that's what's absorbed in that time period. And unfortunately, because of the condition of our families that are broken down, the absence of the male, you have, like we talked about yesterday, our women bringing their children to grandma. I'm going to the club. Can you watch my baby? So during this early part of life, the first 2 years, where this explosion of the brain, this hyper growth, if you will, there's nobody or no environment there to safeguard it. So the children soak up whatever they are exposed to, and being in a cold environment and they're not being bonded and nurtured. This is why we're getting what we're getting. And I'm saying that to kind of dovetail into this. And there's one thing I wanted to do when Sister Aisha talked about all of these devils, and I wanted to kind of demystify that to our audience. When we say devils, we're not talking about some ethereal being that jumps around and in and out of people. The Honorable Louis Farrakhan teaches us that devil, when you want to see a devil, go home and look in the mirror. That's right. Devil is the full manifestation of the negative influence of the human self or rationale that rationalizes disobedience to what we know is correct. That's what devil is. But they have taught us religion in a way to make us think that devil is this Hollywood representation that we all see. But my point in getting to and saying what I'm saying is, this made me think of the book of Romans, first chapter, where it talks about because they refused to retain God in their remembrance,
Yes.
he gave them over to a reprobate mind. So if that child's mind is not being nurtured by a mind that's not reprobate, then what can it produce? And that's why I wanted to talk about the consequences, and I wanted to look at that from a scriptural perspective. And I thank you for bringing the scientific to marry it into what is scripturally true. So, Sister Aisha, I think you wanted to say something on this too. She said, Sister, did she say it all?
I just had in mind, I think his name was Herod in the Bible.
Herod
in the Bible.
Yes.
He made the decree to kill all boy babies 2 and under. And now that she brings the scientific part, that makes sense.
Of course.
Of why he would choose that age group.
Right.
To destroy.
He chose it also because of the time frame that he knew that the Messiah should have been born.
Yes.
So you live in a world, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan says it like this: the ultimate aim of this world is to kill the messenger of God. Well, what does that say for women? If you are the place from whence the messenger must come.
Yes.
There is an attack on the black woman and her womb.
Yes.
And I think it's also in, I don't know if it's in Exodus, where it talks about the Hebrew women, or the women who were, they were having the babies quickly. It's kind of around the same story that Sister Aisha was talking about.
They were multiplying.
They were multiplying so much that
Pharaoh feared the multiplication of the children of Israel.
And that
they were more and mighty.
Yes.
They feel the same thing here.
Exactly.
They're older, we're younger.
Yes. So it's you know, when we look at legislation, when we look at everything that's going on in politics, so-called women's rights is like right at the forefront of this of politics all the time, because it's always centered around abortion. It's always centered around you know, the autonomy of the woman's body, and it's just, you know, showing that there is something going on to stop the black woman from
being able to reproduce.
Exactly. Stop her from producing babies. Yes.
Produce God children. Because it's not just producing.
But because they know what time
but they know that now that we're changing, it's a lot of things that we're changing. We're changing how we eat. We're changing chemicals that we put on our skin. A lot of our sisters are going natural now. They're getting rid of a lot. They're getting educated. They're going to school. They are now securing their children and staying home. I'm using me as an example. I'm a mother. I have 6 children. And this is probably going to be personal, but hey, I have 6 children. I was married, but I experienced domestic violence. I'm divorced now. And that was really hard to talk about. And we talked about it yesterday, but it was so deep because it goes back to what children witness and what children see. What type of environment that you have those children in. What are they going to grow up to see? That's the generational curse that goes on in our communities, where they see things and then they grow up and they're going to mimic that during those delicate years. Anything that they hear, even in the womb. Some children have never actually witnessed or seen their parents be abusive or abused, but they grow up to be those type of men or women. Why? Or men. So it goes back to me, it's just to nurture and for sisters to find the proper mate. I know, Brother Andre, you spoke about that, because we know how to birth a child, but we don't know how to choose a proper mate. So it goes back to re-educating ourselves on what you look for, on saving your virtue, on, courting and having family involved in that process. Don't go out and just choose somebody because you think they're good for you when you don't even know yourself.
Wow, that's right.
So I think we have to be given a standard.
Yeah.
Because I know she talked earlier about the women's right, but the right to choose, but choose what?
Choose what? Yeah, you're going to choose from what you know. Like, yeah, if you've been exposed to, you know, I don't want to say BS, but if you've been exposed to the wrong
if you only have
environment, then that's where you're going to pull from. And if your life is different, if you, like I said, you've gotten education, your parents are devoted to you, you have never been in daycare, you have family structure, you have the village that raises a child, you have people around guiding you, you make less mistakes in life.
Sisters, I want to, I haven't done this yet. I always give some shouts out to our Facebook Live audience because oftentimes they'll make comments or ask questions from these platforms. Of course, we want to thank all of you who are on YouTube Live, and we have a pretty robust audience on YouTube Live. And some comments there that I see that I want to read. And, of course, on my Facebook Live feed. Thank you all for tuning in. Brother Dale, Sister Jill, Sister Donna, and Sister Eva. Who else? Sister Medina, thank you so much for tuning in. And Sister Willetta, Sister Julie, wow. And Brother Samad, thank you for tuning in, sir. Wa alaikum salam, sir. And Sister Kamika, Brother Kyle in West Memphis, Brother Keith, Sister Brenda way up in Bolivar, she's on, and many others. And of course, let me look over here to the YouTube live feed, and there's several comments on here, and a couple of them have caught my eye, wherein I wanted to share them with the audience, and perhaps, sisters, you maybe can, and I mean, time is, it's already 20 minutes after 6, you all, just like that. But Sister Jill said these words in reference to the 75,000 that are missing, and this is really for the audience. In these areas where they are missing, we must organize our own search missions, retracing their last known steps, contacting those persons last spoken to. Value yourself.
Exactly.
And she's absolutely correct. And another comment that Sister G said, we have not written the narrative focusing their attention onto his groundbreaking words he spoke over the last few years of his life, referring to Dr. King. So I thank my sister for those comments, and thank you, listening audience, viewing audience, those of you who have tuned in. But sisters, I want to get to the fact that, first of all, I want to read something to you from an article that, and this is for us as well as the audience, and this is the kind of information that says, this is from healthline.com, and they ask the question, why is giving birth in the U.S. so dangerous for women of color? She writes, and the author is Miss Leigh Campbell. It's from 2018. This is not a super old article, okay? She writes, American mothers die in childbirth at higher rates than any other developed country. Notice she said American mothers. And those most at risk are mothers of color. Elsie Salazar was 19 years old when she gave birth in Hawaii. She was being seen at a military hospital, and as a mixed-race Latina American, felt early on that her opinions didn't matter to the OBGYN team that was providing her care. In fact, when she asked for an epidural, the anesthesiologist told her she'd have to prove she was in enough pain. She said, quote, I had to perform labor pain to his expectation before he would authorize the epidural. When an epidural was finally approved, Salazar was surprised. It wasn't the anesthesiologist who gave it to her, but a student he passed the task off to instead. Salazar said the student missed 3 times, ultimately stabbing her in the spine a total of 4 times before the medication was delivered.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's not only, it's attitudes outside of our communities in terms of how they look at our women. And in conjunction with that, sisters, I wanted to also, about what Sister Taquela was talking about, the attitudes of black women are changing. These sisters are going natural. They're being more attentive to what they put in their bodies, on their bodies. Black women work out. These sisters are going to the gym, and they're starting to awaken to that. And one of the things that they definitely has awakened to, popular hair products for black women may contain harmful chemicals. Well, that's a lot. That's very big. But what I've learned, states are taking a craft that black women have done for millennia and making it a requirement that these sisters attend their institutions and get a license to do what we've been doing
because we're making too much money
since before they got on the planet.
Right, that's natural for us to do.
Now the question, see, this is control. This is why we give the axioms that we give.
Right.
He who controls the diameter of your knowledge. A slave is one whose power and authority is ruled over by somebody else. When you educate a man, you control a man's thinking, you don't have to worry about his actions.
That's right.
How is it that these kinds of things, well, of course we know how is it. Brother talked about solutions. This is what I'm getting to for the last about half hour. What can we do as men, sisters? I want to hear from you all on this. What can we do as black men? You can add the sisters too, but really I want you to put the onus on the brothers. What can we begin to do as a community of men to stave off these community maladies that we suffer in respect to our women? What can we begin to do?
I would say first learn to love yourself and love God.
Ooh.
Because once you love God, everything to me falls into place. And then you love that woman. The minister said, don't allow your women to be out in the streets all times of night.
Oh, no.
Don't allow her dressing, and it's not about control. Us women, we like, he's trying to control us. If you're doing it from a level of love and protection and respect, then you'll tell her, baby, that's a little bit too short. It's inappropriate. What type of attention are you going to draw to yourself? Mm-hmm. So you got to value yourself enough to say, I don't want my woman dressing like this. I don't want her out at night. If she has a job and she has to work at night, then you need to be the man to provide to secure her so she doesn't have to be out at the times of night where she can get kidnapped. Atlanta, women are going to gas stations and getting carjacked at the pump.
Yeah.
And sisters are saying, well, what can I do? I got to get gas. There's no man around.
Yeah.
What do I do? So they're doing things out of necessity. So for me, is learn yourself, learn love, learn how to respect that woman, reverence her. Right. Learn about, we have phones in our hand that go everywhere we go, where you can learn. There's no such thing as ignorance to me. You're only ignorant because you want to be, not because you have to be. You can go on that phone and Google something if you need to.
At the speed of light.
At the speed of light.
Yes, ma'am.
So.
I like that. And
Sister Fatima, what do you think, sis? What can we do?
Well, she talked about the woman having to, that control aspect, and the woman having to leave and go to work or to go at night to get gas. But again, it goes back to when you have something sacred, you put it in a sacred space. So we look at men to be providers, protectors, maintainers, builders. They should be actively involved in a work to create safe spaces and safe environment. We should not have to go and work at jobs where a person can walk in off the street and take our lives and shoot and kill us. Our children should not have to go to schools where they can get snatched in the blink of an eye and they're gone. They're added to that 75,000 number. So the men should be actively involved in the work of building, creating these safe spaces for us.
Building. Accepting the responsibility to do what? Go ahead, my sister.
Sister, she just brought something to my mind. You did ask what, from the perspective of what can men do. And I thought about what the Holy Quran says when it says that men are the maintainers of women. But then another part comes to me when it talks about how Allah, God, never slumbers, or he never sleeps, and the maintenance of the universe tires him not. So if we're taught in the Nation of Islam that the black man is God, then shouldn't he be exercising or showing some of those characteristics? If the maintenance of the universe tires him not, that is I mean, that's a God that accepts a high maintenance woman. Hey,
got a lot of
we
responsibilities.
high maintenance.
Right, we are.
So, you know, if this is what has come to us, and like we've been saying, we don't believe in a spook God. We don't believe in a mystery God. We believe in work. We believe in, you know, force something that is real, something that a man, you know. So he's got to take a note after God. That's what I would just say. Just take a page out of God's book. It's not because no one can equal to God's performance and how he maintained the universe. But we're little gods, or he is a God, children of the Most High. So he can demonstrate more. And I would say Sister Jill really hit it on the point. She's right about that. You know, Black man, wake up. Stop sleeping so much. Get in your community. Look, step out your door and look to the left and look to the right and see what your job is. That's your job.
Absolutely.
Where are the teenagers? Where are the girls on your street? Are they in the house at a certain hour? What are you doing to build a community? Are you cleaning up the trash in the community? Because no one is going to pick it up but us. But if the man wants that role as God, if he wants to say, you know, the king of the planet Earth, God of the universe, then we need to see. We need to see something.
Right. And I want to add too, Sister Nico, that was awesome. That speaks to a lot. That also, when that man takes that rightful place, the woman naturally
is going to follow.
Is going to follow that man, and then the children are going to naturally follow. So there's that order that will bring back the families. That will help our communities. That'll help us have a village to raise the children. So it takes all of us. But once that man does his duty, then that woman would do her duty.
So. You know, sisters, as you were talking, you know, I know the audience. The scripture definitely says that we are all God's children of the Most High God.
That's right.
Not God in the sense that you worship. God simply means force and power. If God gave us power and dominion, we should be able to exert it and demonstrate that in reality. Unfortunately, sisters, you know, man, as the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, I heard him teach years ago, God in his fallen state is man. Man in his elevated state, when he's conscious, he's God. Man in his degenerated state is a beast.
Yes.
And the scriptures take it even further. Beasts at least have vertebrae, although they walk on all fours. He takes us down to a level of a generation of vipers, meaning that like the vertebrae, at least that a human being has, allows us to stand upright. Not only are we not upright, we're not even on all fours. So the law of God is completely absent. The spiritual law that allows us to live upright, like the vertebrae allows us to stand upright, it is completely gone from us as men, as a community in particular. So every time there is an effort to restore that lets you know who the enemy of truth is. If somebody has a problem with us respecting and protecting the human beings through whom all other human beings come, that tells you who that person is. And I see my brother Ken, see, I can tell when he got something. He's been quiet for most of the program. See, he'll sit upright. So I know something's coming, so go ahead, my brother.
Yes, sir. I've been quiet because, I can sit down and learn. I've got my pad and pen taking copious notes. The sisters are making some valid points. But when the sisters, all three of them, were speaking, and I compartmentalized it because it brought up something that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has taught us, that there were three sciences that the slave master never wanted us to know. And that was the science of business, the science of warfare, and the science of mating. Sister Taquela was talking about the proper way of choosing mate. Well, that's the science of mating. We see somebody, ooh, he fine. Oh, man, she look good.
That's right.
You can be driving through the window. Not saying nothing wrong with working there, but that's, you don't have no criteria for choosing a mate. It's based on what you see and how you feel. Yeah, that's just at the common base level. So we don't choose the proper mate. Sister Aisha was speaking about the men and their natural role. Well, the enemy never wanted us to know how to defend ourselves from him. So we didn't ever learn the science of warfare, how to protect and value the woman of God. And Sister Tamiko was speaking about, how God is the maintainer of the universe and he never tires. And you walking around all day long saying, peace, God. I'm a God, the black man God. And you tired of maintaining. What she say? High maintenance. She too hard to handle. That's because a woman is naturally attracted to God, so she's naturally attracted to a man that's doing something. If you ain't doing anything, the play thing, it play out real quick. So the science of business, BUSI, you substitute the I and Y because it's interchangeable. Business is just the life activity of being busy. You got to be doing something. Then your woman, as the sister said, she gonna get back in her natural place. She wants you out front. That's right. She don't want to have to be the woman and the man. That's right. But if you're not gonna step up, she not. She can't wait. She don't have time to wait. This is not the time of waiting.
And that's another aspect of the woman. She's very practical. She's going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And she's going to stand by the number one man that's going to be in her life always, and that's God. That's right. That's it. That's God.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. Dear sisters, look, we're going to take a break. I have to get these commercial announcements in. We've only done it at the beginning of the program, so we're going to take a quick break and get some commercial announcements in, and we'll be right back.
What's your source for truth in news reporting? Where do you turn for non-corporate driven news that's fair and balanced? Subscribe to the Final Call News, your number one free and independent news source that delivers hard-hitting national and international news coverage of today's political, economic, and social issues. For weekly home delivery or online digital edition, log on to www.finalcall.com or call us, area code 901-286-5034. The Urban Indulgence Bath and Body Boutique. At Urban Indulgence Handmade, we pride ourselves on offering quality skincare at affordable prices. Handmade with plant-based, skin-loving ingredients, our soaps and body butters give you luxurious lather and ultimate moisture. Experience the Urban Indulgence at 3314 Poplar Avenue next to Poplar Plaza. Open Tuesday through Friday, 11 a.m. till 5:30 p.m., Saturdays, 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. Get your locally made, freshly baked supreme bean pies from Bake the Bean Pie. Made from the best of ingredients, experience the golden brown flaky crust and pastry filling of the supreme bean pie from Bake the Bean Pie. Not only delicious, but also nutritious. The supreme bean pie from Bake the Bean Pie. Call in your order today, 901-210-8791. That's 901-210-8791. Bake the Bean Pie.
And we're back live here at the S.O.S. radio program. Once again, I'm your host, Brother Andre Muhammad, along with my co-host, Brother Kenneth X. And today, once again, we're engaged deeply into the conversation of unprotected, disrespected, the black female. And we have in the studio our guests, Sister Tamiko Muhammad, Sister Aisha Muhammad, as well as Sister Tequila. Excuse me, I got tongue-tied real quick. Sister Tequila Muhammad. And I want to announce we also got my brother in the house. We got James Muhammad. He's behind the scene. Y'all may have saw him a second ago. You got in the picture. You may not meant to, brother. But he is the student minister, study group coordinator of the South Haven Study Group, as well as the host of the self-improvement talk show that comes on Comcast Channel 17, as well as he hosts New Woman, New Nation, that's on Saturday mornings at 11, as well as Thursdays at 4 o'clock he hosts the Final Call Hour. See, we multitask around here. We are doing our dead level best to create platforms whereby our perspective can be heard. And let me also add, before we spend about the last 15 minutes or so approaching the end of tonight's broadcast, the information from the Nation of Islam, as Sister Tamiko was alluding to earlier, the message of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad is an ecumenical message. What I mean by that does not require that you, quote unquote, convert, if you will, to be a Muslim. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said a good Christian is a good Muslim, and a good Muslim is a good Christian. Well, what does it mean? If we would govern ourselves by the laws, statutes, and commandments of God demonstrated by the prophets that govern proper human conduct, it don't matter what label is on it. If you go to the store and buy some green beans, you're going to see some cans. Some going to have Bush's Best. Some may have Del Monte. But green beans is in all of them. So in the face of that reality, the label, it's just a matter of preference. So I just wanted to say that quickly. So sisters, as we approach the close of the program, we're talking about solutions. We talked about what we can do in terms of helping to stave off some of these social maladies we suffer as a community where our women are concerned. Next, of course, right after that is children. When we look into society, most the violent crime, if you will, in our community, is committed almost exclusively by our young people. I mean, as young as 13. I'm going to tell y'all something. We had a 13-year-old burglar and car thief we had to deal with. A prolific, not necessarily a novice at this. This boy ain't been on the planet for 13 years. And he's a dang near a seasoned car thief. So the question becomes, like you all ask, well, where's the mom? So sisters, if you will, share with us as a community. As men, what can we do to help you all? I want to know, as a community, what can we begin to do? Because we can't wait for the police. Police can only come in the aftermath, react to what's happening. How can we as a community become proactive where our children are concerned?
Assalamualaikum. I would say keep our children involved. Our children are bored. See, if he's a seasoned car thief at 13, what could he be using his mind to apply to if we gave him something to do? See, they're brilliant. We're brilliant. We're raising brilliant children, but they don't have an avenue or an outlet to utilize their brilliance. So we have to start doing things in the community and being involved with the children. I know some people look at children like burdens. They don't want to be bothered with them. You can't get anybody to watch them. Grandmothers don't even want to watch them. Nobody wants to watch the child because, again, they probably had children when they were children. So we got to get back in the community and start having programs for the youth, doing things that are positive for the youth, getting them involved in different things, and then having men that's in their lives. Because, again, it doesn't have to always be the biological father, but it needs to be some type of image of what a real black man looks like, and that child has something to look up to.
Praise be
to Allah.
Sister Aisha, what are your thoughts, man?
Well, there's a popular saying that it takes a community, a village, to raise a child, and I think that we have to rebuild that village. We don't. I think nowadays we think so individualistic in that we're not concerned about our sister and her children and what she may be going through, and why she can't give quality time to her children. If she's struggling with something, and we have a mindset where we'll sit on the sidelines and watch somebody struggle with their children and not even offer assistance. Your sister, your brother. And so we have to rebuild that community again, and we have to have that mindset that's in the Nation of Islam, we refer to one another as brother and sister. So your child, that's my niece. Right. I'm going to take care of her as if it was my own child. Your son, he's getting into something. I'm going to call him and I'm going to correct him like I would my own child. Right. And so that's the mindset that we have to develop. And I think that there's sometimes there's a fear of if you correct your neighbor's child, that something will be said, or they may get aggressive, or sometimes we just have to do.
We have to do it out of love. If you do it out of love, they will respect that because those children need that.
Right.
If there was a man correcting my sons on the proper way to talk or whatever they're doing is out of the way, correct them on that.
Right.
But if you do it out of love, then they'll receive it properly.
Right.
As teachers, we are trained to recognize stresses, trauma, and challenges in the lives of our children. When I hear the story about the young boy who is, like you said, a professional thief.
Seasoned.
Not quite professional.
He's proficient, but not professional.
Right.
Exactly. So what comes to mind is, for me as a teacher, is that young man is trying to survive. It's survival.
That's true.
That's his basic instinct. He is trying to survive because he may not have mom at the house. She may be on drugs, or she may be out with, Tom and Harry, or it may be. But there is a need that he's still a child, but he has to survive. So, as teachers, we're actually being trained to not intervene, but to be sympathetic, be supportive, build a partnership with whoever, as I mentioned yesterday, family units have changed. It might be auntie, it might be cousin that has intervened. So we are trained to support and try to intervene for the best, for that child's benefit. But as a community, as mothers, we really can do a whole lot more. We going out into community, doing more programs, and pulling in these young people because they don't know anything else. That's all he knows. All he knows is survival. So now he has to be, retrained, or he has to be exposed to the knowledge of himself. So where is he going to get that from? If we say that we are the messengers of God in this community, if we are the saviors in this community, then they got to see us. They have to see that we care about their children. And, so we don't just care about ours. As the sister said, this is a village. We have to work as a community because he's not the only one. He's one of hundreds or thousands, who are just basically trying to survive. And it's so painful to see our children come to school, and we expect them to learn in these kind of conditions. We expect them, to learn. They don't have any shoes. Their clothes are dirty, because mom don't wash the clothes, and the clothes piled up in the tub with water because someone done ran water on the clothes, and now the baby got sour clothes. I mean, this is it's really painful. So we just have to, we got to get out there, and we just got to start helping to save our children. They are our responsibility.
And I would like to add one more thing. As far as the brothers is concerned, I would say deal with the childhood trauma. Anything that's missing, those wounds that are unhealed. Because when you heal those wounds that you had from not having a man or mama not there, being latchkey children, being, parents who leave their children at home and allow them to raise themselves because mama got to work or mama's out on the street. And don't look at it as, it is mental illness, but it's not. Mental illness is not a stigma that's saying that something's really wrong with you. It's saying go get help for it. Talk to somebody. Communicate about your pain so that you can be healed, so that you can help somebody. Because if you're not healed in that area, you can't help anybody. You can't help the community. You can't help yourself. So you have to take that moment to study, read, talk it out, go to counseling, whatever you need to do to heal that part of yourself so that you can be that to somebody else or somebody else's child.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, sisters. Dear audience, we are about 12 minutes out from the end, the total end. I got quite a few announcements, but I want to give my brother Kenneth an opportunity to give some parting words. And of course, today is Thursday, brother, so the next time they hear from me and you will be next Wednesday. be it the will of Almighty God Allah. So,
Inshallah.
if you have some parting comments, brother, please share.
Brother, first of all, again, I want to thank the sisters for coming out. Sister Donna, who's not present tonight, but Sister Tamiko, Sister Taquela, and we all was blessed that Sister Aisha could come in because, wow,
Yes.
you know, she was right on point. And I think this is a conversation that's going to have to continue right now, that the women, not only just in the Nation of Islam, women in general all over the world now are stepping up. I've said in private, and I said here on the mic, the women are moving at a rate of speed that the brothers got to catch up to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just observation. They're moving, they're doing something, they're engaging. You're seeing a level of sisterhood that is envious in a good way. You know, and this is our things that our community needs. There was a time when you cut up when we were little, and if you was down the street and Miss Lily saw you, she dealt with you, called your mama, and you got dealt with when you got home. The school teacher, she dealt with you.
That's right.
I mean, so we kept each other in check. It was something that was expected. I remember when I started cutting grass, I had to start early because I knew I was cutting everybody's grass on the block because, you know, you had some grandmothers, some elderly people. We had to make sure that they was taken care of. We've lost that sense of community. We've bought into the societal, the mainstream society notion of individualism. I got mine. You get yours.
Yeah.
But Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, our power is in our unity. He said our unity will solve 95% of our problems. You know, economically, intellectually. We pooled our resources, but the number one resource in any community is the human resource. And we have to develop that kind of, as they said in the scripture, agape love for one another. We have to quit seeing every black face we see as an adversary. You know, brother, sister. And you're right, Sister. If we're brothers and sisters, then your daughter, that's my niece. Your son, that's my nephew. I'm their uncle. And when we start vibing like that sincerely, and it's not just a slogan, a hashtag, or lip service, you know, we say we believe, but mere belief accounts for nothing unless it's carried into practice. So I'm glad we taken that and put it into practice, having these dynamic sisters on the show. And I'm telling you, this is just the launching pad. I see this taking off all around, not just the city of Memphis, but not just the United States, but all over the globe. So I'm thankful to Allah to be present and witnessing, and I'll leave you as I came. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. Thank you for those parting comments. And as we come to the close of tonight's program, we're talking about community, of course, in the context of the unprotected and disrespected black female in America. But we're seeing trends that's changing that at the grassroots level. And at some point, it will come above ground and be seen on a national level. But as it relates to community, to our dear audience, I oftentimes hear people talk about, but not buy into this notion of unity is necessity, but they want a safe community. I say this to that notion. Be careful of folk who want to say, well, we want a safe community, but they talk against unity. It's an oxymoron because in the word community is the word unity. Because in order to have a community, the absolute necessity of a level of unity is a must-have. So, brothers and sisters, to our listening audience, all we're offering to you is a perspective and an example of a community of people, the Nation of Islam, where the social maladies that you see in the broader community, you don't see them at those levels, racial and proportionately, among us. We don't say that it doesn't exist, but you don't have near the level of societal ills among us as a community, the Nation of Islam. And we're a huge community now. We're all over the world.
Sure.
But we don't have those illnesses in terms of relationships. Of course, we have problems, but not to the degree, ratio and proportionately speaking, that you see in the broader society. So what we're saying to you, what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches, notice I didn't say taught, through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, there is some value in it. Take the principles, regardless to your faith tradition. It's not specific and peculiar to Muslims. Eating pork is not a Muslim thing. It's a human thing. It is something that God forbade the human being because he created that pig for a purpose, and it was not to be consumed. Okay? So we cannot relegate that principle to just Muslims. Ask Joel Osteen. He talked about it from his pulpit. So, dear family, thank you all for tuning in once again to the S.O.S radio program. And Brother James, if you could come clear this screen, because I got to make this announcement. I didn't let your phone go. Oh, okay, I got it. We got some announcements, and Brother Kenneth said this conversation needs to continue. Well, guess what? It's going to continue. And one of the dates to convene with women and have the conversation will be Saturday, April 13th, 2019 at 5 p.m. Once again, that's on Saturday, April the 13th, 2019 at 5 p.m. Women who heed the final call. Refreshments and beverages will be served. And we're being asked, and sisters, you're being asked, to join our women, to join us for an intellectual discussion in light of Scripture with the guidance of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You will talk about political and social issues that affect women and mothers. It will take place at the Muhammad's South Haven Study Group. You know that little plot that we announce every week? 1495 Brookhaven Drive in South Haven, Mississippi. For more information, contact that beautiful sister that you see and have heard give great commentary on today's topic. That's Sister Tamiko Muhammad. You can reach her at 901-304-6755. Again, that's 901-304-6755. Sisters, I think you all should avail yourselves to that kind of conversation. You'll get to interact with the sisters of the Nation of Islam. And I see Sister Tamiko, you got something? Go right ahead, sis.
Can I say something? Okay, so I'm not going to be alone. It's actually going to be our sisters. Aisha is also going to be joining, and Sister Tequila is going to be joining us. So, and Sister Donna is also going to be joining us.
She's going to be on that panel.
Yes.
Ooh,
yes.
So
it's going to be wonderful.
Some powerhouses there. And to our sisters in the community, please, you are certainly invited to that event. Again, that's Saturday, April 13th, 2019 at 5 p.m. Women who heed the final call. Refreshments and beverages served. They will be at 1495 Brookhaven Drive in South Haven, Mississippi. That's just a little bit south. It ain't way down in Mississippi. You can stand in Whitehaven at that Walmart on, what's that, Elvis Presley. You can throw a rock and it'll land in Mississippi.
Straight out.
So go and join the sisters there. That's it. Once again, April 13th on a Saturday at 5 p.m., 1495 Brookhaven Drive. Contact number, I said, for information would be 901-304-6755. And as we close, please join us this Sunday at Muhammad Mosque number 55 at 873 Vance Avenue. The doors open at 9 o'clock. The program begins promptly at 10 a.m. We will be listening to our national webcast, a message from the National Center in Chicago live, but we will carry the signal via internet. And join us Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m. The doors open at 9. Brothers and sisters invited. And later on that day, at 2 p.m., Student Minister Anthony Muhammad, the Mid-South representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, would be at 4955 Cottonwood to deliver a very, very timely message, the crucifixion of black youth. We're going to go out into the community, and we invite you to join us at 4955 Cottonwood. That's McFarland Community Center, Sunday at 2 o'clock p.m. Student Minister Anthony Muhammad and the believers of Muhammad Mosque number 55 will be there. Come and join us and hear the timely message from Student Minister Anthony Muhammad. Bring your children so they can hear what he means by the crucifixion of black youth. All of that is taking place beginning at 10 a.m. Sunday, culminating in the 2 o'clock program at the McFarland Community Center. Also, we will be there Monday night for our men's only class, 7:30 p.m. for the men's FOI processing class. Brothers, you are invited to come and learn what it is that we as the men of the Nation of Islam learn about manhood. And we're back again on Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. for the midweek lecture and study class. Brothers and sisters are invited. It begins at 7:30 p.m. And again on Friday at 7:30 p.m. for our self-improvement study class. Brothers and sisters are invited. This is the place where we learn the meat, the inner workings of what we learn to improve our communities by improving self. And of course, we have a reflection of the men's class that takes place every Saturday morning. 2 locations at 873 Vance Avenue, also at 1495, or do the sisters come to Memphis?
They come to Memphis.
They come to Memphis. That'll be at 873 Vance Avenue, Saturday morning at 9 o'clock for our women's only class, the MGT GCC class. Sisters, you want to come and participate in that, please give us a call at our conflict resolution hotline at 901-303-8961 to help solve the beefs, if you will. We've had more beef happen out on the West Coast, and we're losing lives unnecessarily. It's our responsibility to establish platforms where we can resolve our differences without resorting to violence, which results in the loss of life. If you're not in the immediate Memphis area this Sunday morning at 10 o'clock a.m., say you're a little south of us in North Mississippi, meet at the South Haven Study Group. They're located at 1495 Brookhaven in South Haven, Mississippi. They meet at the same times. Sunday at 10 a.m., the doors open at 9. Wednesday nights at 7:30 for the study class or the midweek lecture, and Friday nights at 7:30 for the study class. You can also catch us on Comcast Channel 17, beginning Mondays at 5:30 p.m. for the Self-Improvement Talk Show, hosted by our cameraman right here in the studio. He's also a talk show host. Student Minister James Muhammad, the student minister and study group coordinator of the South Haven Study Group. Self-Improvement Talk Show Mondays at 5:30 p.m. You can also, running out of time, Thursdays at 4 p.m. for the final call hour, and Saturdays at 11 a.m. for New Woman, New Nation. Give us an email with your questions, comments, concerns at savingourselves19@yahoo.com. That's going to do it for us today. We thank you for tuning in, and we leave you as we came before you with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Cool. You know what else is cool? Winning games. And the Jets better start doing that because I'm tired of waiting. They have the quarterback. They have Le'Veon Bell. Let's go, baby. That's all the time we have tonight. My thanks to Jose. Dave Smith, he's nuts.
The second level. We embrace technology everywhere else except for some reason in sports, but really when it comes to the viewer experience. We want to rely on human error, and we want to rely on some 350-pound guy behind home plate struggling to determine if it's a ball or strike because of somebody's job, not the billions of dollars at stake. The second level. Weekdays from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. Eastern on SB Nation Radio. This is the gold standard.
With Mike Trout hanging out with the Angels for likely the rest of his career now, and still, in my mind, not viewed as one of these superstars in sports. He's got the largest professional sports contract. He's paid like a superstar. He's a future Hall of Famer already. He's the best baseball player going right now. But from a stardom, and again, superstar is not just what you're doing on the field. It's where you are on marketing dollars, endorsements, and Mike Trout, to me, does not fall into the superstar category. So in baseball, who is? Like Bryce Harper is there, and you can stop the list right now. That's the thing. How many are there for baseball? Bryce Harper, be another one. You know what I mean? I don't think there is one. Mike Trout's not on that for me. He should be.
The Gold Standard with Alex Gold. Weekday nights from 10 to 1 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. This is the Gold Standard.
When you're Duke and you've got the best player in college basketball that we've seen in decades, it is championship or bust. Everybody across the sports landscape expected to win a national championship. How does Zion Williamson not get the shot inside of 90 seconds? That kind of stuff is inexcusable.
The Gold Standard with Alex Gold. Weekday nights from 10 to 1 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
He wants to shut the league down. What would he sell for? Would he sell for $70 million?
And then would the new owner come in and be required to make up the additional money that would have been owed by Tom Dundon? You put $250 million in, that leaves $180 million left over that somebody would have to come up with after buying the league from Tom Dundon. Or does Tom Dundon become even a bigger dink and decides to sell the thing for a profit, or at least try to? That would be my question. Because right now, who I look at, who I'm pointing the finger at, is Tom Dundon. And the thing that would really stink, and here would be my question, if Tom Dundon bought the league just for the app, we're going to find out.
Bro, thank you,
Pushing
man.
the odds. Get back for all weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Which is the talk show. So like
Do you like stories about poker, gambling, the racetrack, or the mafia? Then check out the dynamic new novel, Jesus Just Left Chicago. From Gal Media's Fred Fowler. When a mysterious biker shows up and knows the winner of every race, a group of lifetime losers become convinced he's something supernatural. But success leads to jealousy, betrayal, and danger at every turn. Pick up your copy in paperback, Kindle, Apple Book, Nook, or audio today at JesusTheNovel.com. The second level.
Something's different. Something just feels different. In Cleveland, I know apathy is a term that's foreign to the fan base. Like apathy is a term that's foreign to the fan base here in Philadelphia. It's very, very rare that a fan base like the Philadelphians will turn apathetic to one of their teams. See, apathetic is different than hate. That's still passion, and that's still attention being paid to your team. All those years of misery and those failed quarterbacks, apathy set in. So what happened in Philadelphia was more than just Bryce Harper's debut. It was more than just a guy in Bryce who was doing everything he can to pander and connect with the Phillies fan base. It was restoring interest.
The second level, weekdays from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. Eastern on SB Nation Radio. SB Nation AM.
Listen, man, I go back to the Marlins. Somebody didn't want to release their finances.
Sounds like
I think it was the Marlins. They don't want you to really know how much they're making. Like they really, like if you really knew from concessions to merchandise to tickets to revenue to advertising, they don't want you to know.
Derek Jeter's offloading everything because he wants to make his money back first.
SB Nation AM with Tony D. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. This is SB Nation Radio.
The next generation of sports radio.
For more exclusive SB Nation Radio coverage, check out our staff writers at SBNationRadio.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SB Nation Radio. Hall of Fame voters Clark Judge, Rick Gosselin, and Ron Borges break down everything going on in the NFL, plus who should be the next great player to be given a golden jacket on the Talk of Fame Network. Hear Talk of Fame every Wednesday night from 8 to 10 Eastern, right here on SB Nation Radio.
Manchester.
If your vehicle isn't stopping like it used to or makes squealing noises when you brake, shop the Spring Brake Deal Savings Event at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Right now, buy a set of Brake Best Select pads and a pair of rotors and get a $20 O'Reilly gift card by mail. Don't miss the Spring Brake Deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
Auto Parts.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention, please?
This is the Dave Smith Show. The Dave Smith Show.
Okay, it's happening.
On SB Nation Radio.
And on SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Quicken Loans. From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Dave Smith.
Well, you know, one of my pet peeves in football, it's clock management. In basketball, it's not fouling when you're up 3 in the last 10 seconds. And in baseball, it's managers removing starting pitchers from the game when they're pitching